John. But I found the answer to insomnia. Turned on my phone, went to Twitch.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, it's actually the best time of the year for people that have trouble sleeping, because Worlds was on. I went to the League of Legends side of things on Twitch. Very, very barren, by the way. Could barely find it. But I got there. I'll tell you what, John, 5-10 minutes in, it was just, I fell asleep so easily. It was unbelievable. Nothing happens. It's amazing. It's like counting sheep to yourself. Nothing happened. I think it was like 20 minutes in, no kills, and I was gone, John. So if anyone ever has trouble sleeping, don't watch Dota. You'll probably stay awake. Go over to League of Legends. They'll have you back with that one. Anyway, John, we'll move on. 496, they have gone for the Void pickup. Neon Esports, they do go for the Ember Spirit in return. That's pretty much the same draft they were running in Game 1, if I'm not incorrect. Pretty much the exact same opening.
Yeah, it's the same thing that came from that first series. 496 though, I'm loving what they're bringing out here. So they get the Tide and they get the Faceless Void again, sliding through the bans there. 496 sneaking this in for Drew. Amazing team fight coming through with the potential of the Rubik stealing some spells. And the beautiful thing here, Mike, is you're not actually locked into a core Void. You have options for the support Void. You have options. We've seen that a couple of times.
Don't bring that up, John. It's
no. Support Void with a core Rubik, though? That gets me a bit excited.
Well, you got excited in the last game for core Rubik, John, but they didn't play the right-click style Rubik, which you wanted to see. So, there's the Oracle now coming out from 496 as well. So, one of Bombi's favorite heroes to play in that support role. He does pick it up, and naturally, when you are playing the carry Faceless Void, which I'm pretty sure that's what it is, you don't want to have to play up against the Oracle because it just makes your life a living hell. Just false promise through the chrono or even just Fate's Edict, and he can't attack anyone. Neon Esports, however, seeing the Void and the Oracle now, will have to try and figure something out for themselves. And they pick up the PA, so not too concerned. I suppose with the Void being there, it is kind of a nice counter up until the Void does pick up the MKB. He can't really kill you throughout the chrono because of that inbuilt evasion you have as the PA. But the problem is, though, the Void does naturally go into the MKB. So it's not like you're forcing him in an uncomfortable position by going down that item choice.
No, not completely. I mean, you've got the PA Magnus combo here for Neon with the Ember, so there's a lot of value here. Whether or not it's a Januel hero, not entirely sure. It could just be JG this game, but we said that last time as well. 496, you mentioned the shortcomings with the Oracle for anyone going against the Void, or for the Void going against the Oracle, so them having this big boon. I think the same thing applies for a PA going into Oracle, though. There's a natural disarm here. You've got a life-saving skill that can make it hard for the PA to find that instantaneous burst. I do kind of worry about how effective Neon can make this PA, so Scam's got to pull out the work here to really get off to a running start. You've also got this PA Tide lane, which isn't too bad because you can play with Dagger, but it's still not a very fun lane for the PA in the end, especially if that BB pushes himself way far forward. And this is going to be another game with that Tide set. Every time, dude. I think throughout the time we've started casting this, for like the 4 times you've seen Tide, it's all had the same set. All the same set. It's a dad bod Tide. Every single time.
I don't know what to tell you, John. It's very popular in SEA. Mind you, I saw quite a bit of Tide in Europe, and I never saw that set. They did not run that set in the European scene, so it seems to be a Southeast Asian thing. It kind of makes sense, though, because it would look ridiculous. There's just this guy with a huge belly just running at you with whatever weapon he has and just smacking you over and over again. It's just classic SEA. Anything you can do to upset your opponents is worth doing. And now Neon, they finish off with the Undying, so we should be seeing a Core Magnus once again, maybe a POS 5 Undying. 496 Gaming, their 5th pickup now. They are lacking a mid laner. They should know already that it is probably going to be the Ember Spirit being played by Yopaj in that mid lane. So what do you want up against December?
You've got, I guess, the Spirit Raiders are still in the pool, but they're likely looking for something to play with their faces Void. Invoker and Zeus would have been nice, but Neon could read that from a mile away. Really
Yeah.
telegraphed picks if they wanted that. Uh, hmm. I'm not entirely sure. I think a puck would be decent still. You can jump in and out. The control from Neon is pretty bad. It's down to just Chain's Arrow, which is amazing, but it's also not the best. And they go with a bat here, 496.
Exact
So
same
that's
thing.
another thing we saw. Yeah, it's the bat against the Ember again. And we'll see if Hung can pull this lane off a bit better compared to what we saw last time. But an interesting back and forth draft. It doesn't quite play with the chrono, that Batrider, but you already have the follow-up from that BB's Tide, I suppose, so you're not really worried about that. Oracle plus Batrider is super potent when you're standing in front as well. And Neon, for their part, Januel does go on the Undying, so it's the JG Magnus. We're not going to have those issues with a farm-up. Should be an interesting shakeup here for Neon, but they will have to really play hard on Yapaj. That's basically all their lockdown. A chance into Arrow until the RP is up can be a bit iffy to start catching these heroes.
It could be. See how this game 1 pans out. I mean, just judging by how game 1 went into the last series, this draft could work very nicely for Neon, as it did that first time around. 496 Gaming. I mean, they've got some great answers to the draft of Neon Esports for sure, especially with that Void. We talked about it earlier on, but once you do have the MKB up, it really does solve a lot of the issues with that PA being played by Skem. It's just going to be a matter of whether he can get that MKB up at a reasonable time.
Yeah, it's can be a good back and forth. 496 again. I know about that. Like sometimes they can go off to this running start, but it feels like we're 7 days in. It feels like 496 is still adjusting to their lineup because they've kind of temporarily gotten Jokam in, and they've also kind of gotten Drew around to replace Red technically, so that BB shifted to a different role that he's not entirely super comfy in. And we saw these issues for 496 in the BTS Pro Series Season 3. It just feels a little bit more accentuated here, mainly because there's just more players to replace. And so 496 still needing to kind of stitch it up. I say that, but they are in a pretty good standing in the groups, right? They're number 6. They're in the upper half and kind of almost in the middle of the pack going into the playoffs, but they have to maintain that consistent performance. And Neon, well, they are pretty explosive. They've got to meet these timings, especially for Drew. We'll see if how fast this MKB will come out, as you mentioned.
That's the thing as well. Like, you just pointed it out, but 496, they really haven't had a fair shot with these tournaments, I've got to say. And it's not anyone's fault, right? Like, obviously there were some problems with some health going on with one of the players, I believe, from 496 in the previous tournament, and it looks like that might... I don't know for sure what's going on, but we haven't seen the full roster of 496 for such a long time, it feels like. And I just want one tournament where they actually have their full lineup there. Regardless, though, they have been looking great, with this draft, with this this lineup of players for this tournament anyway, so we'll just see if they can get it together.
Yeah, and gonna look at these lanes breaking out. Looking at bot, you've got that BB on the Tide with Jokam on the Rubik. What? Again, Jokam Rubik always a treat to watch.
Where's Skem set?
Oh,
he's default PA now for
what?
No reason.
Yeah, that's super strange. Beta game, mate. Beta game.
Okay, all right.
It happens, but this is not going to be a fun lane for Skem. Like you talked about Rubik Tide. It's here again. Anchor smash into Fade Bolt. What can you do? Januel, he's got to do some heavy lifting here to cut them off and really play with the decay. But Bombi's around. Maybe they look for a First Blood setup.
He does this every single game, especially when he's playing the Oracle John Bombi. He'll always head to the other side lane just for this reason. To get that Fortune's End off, it's a long duration route, and they're not necessarily going to kill Skem, but the fact that they do at least force out a salve usage is probably going to be enough for Bombi to make his way back up to the top lane happily. With that, let's have a look at the other lanes. Mid lane. Yopaj and Hung up against each other once again. Last series, Yopaj had this Batrider Ember lane. It didn't seem to bother him last time. I wonder if it'll be much different with Hung around.
I mean, you can see Upaj kind of being forced to use up his salve early on, but he's still finding the last hits. He's already got his stick up. So Hung is only winning for now, but Hung's also ready. He's got Tangos up. He's got a Mango left, trying to make the most out of this. It really boils down to who gets that first power rune, as it usually does for a lot of mid matchups, and if Hung can easily access his jungle. So we'll see if Neon commits to watch those stacks, to contest those stacks that Hung will want to build up, or if Hung's given the space to kind of build up as a Batrider and hit his level 6, hit his timing on those boots of travels at a good point.
Well, Bombi, he's having a bit of a chase here onto Play Hard, and he's going to go for the kill, but Fairy Fire going to be there in time, but no, Bombi had the other Purifying Flames ready to go and does throw it out. Nice pick up there from Bombi, and that'll actually be the first blood of the game, going over to 496.
It's just what you want to see when you're 496. Bombi, as you mentioned, loves playing aggressive in that Oracle. That does give Drew space to just focus on the last hits, and without Mirana around, it's not too hard for JG to zone out. At the same time, there's very little a Magnus can do with just Empower and Shockwave, so he's just basically focusing on trading farm, and that's just something they'll enjoy more.
Well, mid lane, Hung does manage to get a kill solo onto Yapaj, and that's going to be very bad news for our Ember. Mind you, Hung is going to have to probably run his way back to the fountain unless he does buy some more regen, but he can stack on the way there, and obviously with that first kill onto the Ember solo, it is going to be quite a lot of XP and gold the Batrider's way. And so it's a bit of an opposite to what happened that last series where the Ember got the first blood. This time around, the Batrider ends up getting the kill.
Yeah, and that's definitely the start you want. Even up top again, Bombi just zoning out. And it's his Oracle. And he's denying his own ward as well.
I believe it got spotted, which is why he's doing it. Just pretty sure that that Play Hard did see it getting placed there, and obviously getting that kill as well. It must have been pretty obvious he had the high ground vision.
At least he denied the gold off, but now Play Hard, yeah, he's coming in with his own obs and sentry. Gonna realize that it's gonna be a wasted sentry, so not quite what you'd want on your pause. 4, you need some gold to get off to a running start. Of course, they are lined up for these power runes. At the least, Play Hard's gonna be able to contest the top rune when it does come out.
Absolutely. And you'll realize there is indeed no Observe Ward left. Had no choice, really. If he wanted to stack, he had to check. He'll take the Arcane Rune away on the Mirana and maybe go for a bit of an arrow play up at that top lane, where we will see JG having a bit of a tough time on this Magnus. And Bombi is not really allowing him to get close to the wave when that Mirana is away. Mind you, he has already gotten a lot of CS on the mag, so it's not really too big of a deal, but I suppose for his sake, Bombi just has to make sure he can't come up and hit these creeps for free.
It's just giving a little bit more work down to JG to find those hits. Drew is having a spectacular lane, though. I think that's really the gist of it. That the fact that JG can't come in, harass with Empower, harass with Shockwave, means that Drew is pretty much not scared. You know, he still holds on to Time Walk. He's not been forced to pop it. And Neon, again, off to a slower start here, 0-3. John Uwalt's just trying to zone the bot lane. We are seeing Scam pull surprisingly ahead in last hits, though. 25-3. So the pressure we're expecting from the Anchor Smash and Phase Vault isn't really slowing Scam down by a significant amount. This is still a pretty good ramp up for our PA.
Certainly is. I think we talked about it the last series as well, right? Like, the PA is one of those heroes that can just use that dagger and not get hit by the Anchor Smash Fade Bolt too much. Seems to be what Skem has been up to. Of course, with the Empower, you're just able to go into the jungle later on without a Battle Fury and just cleave down creeps anyway.
Oh,
mid lane, however, looks like Hung has been caught out trying to go after Yopaj. Play Hard. It's going to come in with the Starfall, and Yopaj is the one to take the kill with that Sleight of Fist. And interestingly enough, John, Yopaj has gone for the exact same build-up. Ignoring the Flame Guard, just opting for the Chains and Slide.
Yeah. I mean, if it worked last time, why not? Here we go.
Well, we're seeing why it works so well, because the arrow can come in straight after from Play Hard. It is quite a painful experience to deal with.
Yeah, and it's just constantly forcing these response traps from 496. And you tie up your supports as well down mid, but considering that your side lanes up top, you know, JG was still finding farm, and you've already left Skem alone for so long, this is a pretty good spot for the supports to play in. They've got level 6 up, they can just keep applying harassment, and Hung has no room to breathe. He can't just dip into the jungle, find that easy farm. He has to maintain a presence in lane.
Love what I just saw as well from Play Hard, John, and I think this is one of the really strong points of the Mirana, is the fact that you can just arrow the siege creep every single time and just deny off any form of a push that can come out. I think people underestimate how powerful the siege creep is, just turning really any hero out there to a pushing hero, as long as you can keep that siege creep alive. The Mirana, one of the only heroes out there that can just burst it down with one hit. Still Play Hard now, being caught out by Bombi and Jokam, but he is walking away. Bombi trying to get another Purifying Flames, but he is going to get RP'd by JG into the arrow. But there's your disarm out. Now more TPs to come in from the side of Neon Esports. They do get Jokam, and it looks like Skem is going to come in to clean up Bombi. In fact, it'll be Yopash to take it. Straight back into that mid lane, but a really nice RP coming out from JG.
Yeah, just what you want to see. They save out their stacks as well. Unfortunate for JG, no mana to the Empower, so Skem can't clear out the stack immediately, but they're going to line up now to at least pressure the top lane. You can see the rotation out here from Drew, heading bot now. Might be lining up for those tier 1 trades we're used to seeing at about this time.
Yopash. Oh, Arrow's going to come in again from Play Hard with that chain set up, and Hung could hope that the neutral creeps try to deny him, but they cannot. On the brighter side, at least, Drew did manage to pick up a kill onto Januel, and it was no real chrono commitment for that either. It does look like they committed the Ravage, however. So one ultimate wasted for an Undying kill. But, definitely not worth it when you compare the fact that Yopash did just kill off your Batrider.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate as well that Neon found a kill but did not go for this stack. So some efficiency being saved out here by 496. You did see Play Hard spot out the stack in the end, but they're not going to be able to contest, and Bombi's just trying to zone out. They do go for the tier 1 tower trades. Bot tier 1 falls to Drew. No room up top to go for the trade just yet though.
Yopash going to chase down Bombi. Bombi falling low, but the Purifying Flames heal is really helping him out. Meanwhile, Hung is killing off Play Hard and does get him as Yopash is still chasing Bombi. Raindrops actually saving his life there. The remnant damage not going to tick. Yopash still trying to go for this, but there's 4 heroes around him. Now JG also around just in case he needs the help, but there's no RP yet. He needs 5 seconds. Yopash still falling very low, getting Flame Break now with the lift out, but he'll remnant forward once again, and JG might be able to turn now with that RP. He threatens, he'll throw it out, but Yopash is still going to go down. The arrow flying through. Unfortunately, he threads the needle. Still, they will be able to kill off Hung. It's going to end up being a 1-for-1 trade. That was a very long kind of chase coming out. And 496, I'd say they're still pretty happy with that.
Definitely. Yopash is a bigger key for momentum here for Neon. Hung just kind of needs to sit back and farm. The fact that they lose the Emperor is a much bigger blow, although that BB is still here.
He is. So is Jokam. Skem trying to go for the kill attempt. He is lacking a bit of damage with that Fade Bolt out, and well, that BB gonna just rush forward onto Skem, but here comes Yopash again onto Bombi. They will get the Oracle kill. Meanwhile, Hung does have the lasso, aiming for the Undying. No, he's looking for Skem. He'll go for Januel first, however. Get rid of the Undying. Meanwhile, Chrono gonna come out now onto Yopash. It doesn't really seem like they have the damage, but they do have the follow-up lasso. And that is going to ensure that Yopash will die for a second time in the row. Or rather, in a row.
It's really clumsy here for Neon. They keep forcing these fights out. 496 does have really good team fight. You're not ready to burst heroes down as Skem. Like, he's got level 8. He's got Power Treads plus Wraith Band and a casual Blightstone, which is nice. With Empower, you might feel strong, but not nearly strong enough. You really need at least a Desolator up here for Skem, so he's going to have to wait that one out. 496, they're not too far ahead. It's 7 to 8, a 1 to 2k lead for 496, so not overwhelming, but you can see Drew's build-up. You know, queuing up the MKB with a Mask of Madness, this farm is going to be straightforward for the Void, and to be fair to them, they have been on point with the Chronosphere usages. We've seen 2 already since Drew hit level 6. That's been pretty on point with the cooldowns, and you don't tend to see a lot of Voids be really conscious about that timing. But it's really refreshing to see that from Drew, just enabling this early movement out for 496.
Yeah, and I think it's just a pretty solid choice here from Drew. I mean, there's no real itemization you're looking for up against the PA. You just want that MKB after the MOM. If he can get that up at a nice time, it's going to make the game a lot harder for Drew. Or excuse me, rather the PA being played by Skem. Looks like, judging by how fast it's going, it is probably going to be up very soon. So JG will watch him. But Drew going to time walk into him now. JG with the skewer back has the RP, but doesn't have any help around if he wanted to commit the RP, and Drew's going to have a bit of time wasted, but overall he's going to be just fine. Meanwhile, mid lane, Yopaj is going to try and chase down JoeCam, but there are going to be 3 heroes around. He's been lifted up. He will be able to just remnant out of there. This is definitely not as dominant of a game on the Ember. He's already, I mean, he's got 5 kills, but he has had 3 deaths. He might need to spend a bit more time just trying to get some farm up.
Yeah, he's starting to fall behind in terms of that farm. Yopaj is sitting behind that BB's Tidehunter, which is not where you want to be as an Ember. Needs to be a little bit faster on the item build-up, going for the drums first. Just about to pick them up, so that should enable more opportunities here for Yopaj. But you can see 496, they've invaded that jungle. There are some wards, but JoeCam is going to get the D ward. And they're just playing in this area. They know they've got control here. They can just safely farm up. Neon can't do the same on the Darius side. There's some good counter wards, and they're just constantly trying to force a response mid, but Yopaj is not really able to find anyone alone to really start to get some pickoffs going.
He cannot. You do have the Deso now up on Skem, but Chrono is going to be into the mid lane. Drew just snuck up from behind, and Yopaj once again going to go down. Great Chrono out from Drew. Meanwhile, Hung going to go for a lasso attempt onto the Mirana and does get it off with that Firefly, and it's going to be plenty of damage to Skem. He's trying to fight back, and JG gets a great Ravage out, or rather an RP is what I was looking for. There's your Ravage now from that BP. It will connect onto Skem. They'll get the PA, and Drew now can just go back for the Tombstone Gold. In fact, never mind, that BB will seal it off him. How rude of this Tidehunter.
Yeah, they are checking out the response though, going.
Yeah, Yopaj come back in, does get the chains off, but Drew might just be willing to turn back around and hope for some lucky bashes. In fact, no, he is not. Bombi does get hit with the arrow from Playhard and does eventually go down. Someone's going to pick up that bounty rune and does, but Drew now will time walk back in after Januel, and without that flesh golem, it's going to be much easier to take him out, as now Hung going to go back after Playhard. They'll get the Mirana. Drew, having a look for Yopaj, does get the time dilation off, but he'll remnant away. An absolute slugfest as Skem just jumps in for 2 crits in a row. Goes after JoeCam now. Huge damage coming out from Skem. Of course, does have the Desolator up. And it looks like neither team is going to be willing to back off, as now Hung gets caught out by Skem with the chains out from Yopaj. Another great crit. Purifying Flames and False Promise will save the day as Bombi keeping that Batarang alive. He'll go back in with the Firefly, and Skem does go down, but Hung, he is actually going to survive through all this damage, and even Bombi does finally go down to Yopaj. Hung still trying to chase, can't get the final amount of damage he needed. But this fight might finally be over.
It's the same thing as we've seen in the first series. Such long fights. In the end, I want to say favoring Neon. If you look at the fight recap, it is favorable for Neon. So they come out on top, but 496 still maintain a 2k lead. They do manage to force a lot of responses out, and I suppose in the end you could consider that a successful defense on both sides for the tier 1. I have to be a bit cautious. Right now, Neon does not have anything defensive for Skem. He is rushing the BKB, which is going to be important for him to stand and fight against that Ravage, against the Batrider. But it's still quite a ways off. He does have the Ogre Axe, still lacks the Mithril Hammer and the Rescue. That's going to take some time that they might not have as 496. They've got Chrono back up. No Ravage, but it's going to be up really soon as well.
Thing is, Drew, he's so close to that MKB. I believe he will just try and finish it off before he does go for another chrono attempt. Though you never know, because it is 496 and they do like to get a bit aggressive regardless of the items they have. In fact, you're right, John. They're going to smoke up even without the MKB. Just screw it. Let's go in. Into the mid lane they go. Play hard. Is the lasso target that Hung has been going for. Of course, he will probably prioritize Yopaj or Skem if he does find them. 496, they'll be quite patient in this mid lane. Just waiting it out. Play hard. Sees a ward, knows they're around there somewhere. Now that BB gonna show himself in the mid lane, just going after that tier 1 mid tower. That BB knows he hasn't got much to be afraid about. He can just tank this tier 1 tower. Just take it for free. Neon, of course, they understand the whole team is behind that BB, but they can't initiate. There's too many big ultimates there to be kind of counter-initiated on for Neon.
Yeah, it's still not a comfy spot. Again, just waiting for Skem to find that BKB. The yields up from your Yopaj is going to be helpful too. The biggest issue with this lineup from Neon is that they really just don't have a Void counter. No bench swap, the Oracle's on the other side. Really nothing to break that combo off. So even with the BKB on the PA, I would still be cautious if I was Skem. You need to ensure that you're always keeping an eye out on Drew, and that was a big issue there. They saw that BB. The rest of the team, yeah, it's a bit scary, but the key thing is that Drew is just not kind of revealing himself, and that always leaves the threat of Chrono in play.
We are going to have a quick pause here. 496. Like they just need a second. Everything going pretty swell here. I mean, it is a very close game, 14 to 14, but I'm still just looking at that Void timing. That's what I'm really worried about here for Neon. Even with that BKB up, it's not going to help you up against the Void. That's the real problem. If Skem gets caught in that chrono, he's almost guaranteed to just die. They don't really care for your BKB.
They need to find another way to control that Void. Maybe focusing down the Yule's initiation from your Mirana, or just trying to catch him out with the Chain's arrow. It's just that situation with this lineup, and we called it from draft, but they do lack control, and that's something the Void can really, really abuse when he wants to just set up for himself.
It's true. Both teams going to take a bit of a breather as they do decide to just farm up a little bit. Skem getting ever so close, but top lane, Lasso is going to come out onto the Batrider. Yopaj trying to make a run, but remnants have been stolen by our Rubik. Joe Cam going to follow him down, and Yopaj only has one remnant left, but it looks like it might be enough, unless that BB can somehow close the gap, but he cannot. Have to back off. Very close call there for the Ember as a cheeky arrow connects onto Bombi. Looks like Drew, seeing all those remnants being used up by Yopaj, wants to try for a Roshan play.
Yeah, he did manage to sneak the courier into spot, but I don't know if that courier will last, and it doesn't. JG is not going to have that. But they do manage to reveal the Roshan, they pull back.
There's your BKB up now on Skem. Could be a good time to fight, but again, John, that Chrono is going to be a big problem here for Skem. I mean, the Ravage not so much, but even the Lasso's back up in 5 seconds, and that also doesn't care for the BKB. Genuel going to pop the Tombstone and the Flesh Golem, but look at the damage out from Drew. He hasn't even bashed him yet, and he's already almost dead. Still Skem going to go after Joe Cam, or rather Yopaj is. Drew is wasting a lot of time following this zombie. He'll commit the Chrono now onto Skem, but Skem, he's going to get Yuled up through the Chrono, so he gets wasted. A huge Ravage out from that BB. Is it going to matter? Probably not, as 496, they are falling darn quick.
Oh my god.
They did not get the Tombstone. And that BB, all he can do is try to run.
Ooh boy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Nobody got the Tombstone on that high ground.
Oh, I saw Hong. He was hanging around the ward area. I thought he was hitting the tombstone. He wasn't. They dipped away. And John Yuval, just by sticking it up on the cliff side, was fine. These supports, I mean, Jokam was way too far out for one, but they needed to find a way to focus it down. Drew was instead trying to run down and right-click with a time walk instead of gap closing into it, and that's just, it costed him. The tombstone was just way too strong, the slows were holding them back, the fight was split in two very awkward areas, and now Neon gets the Roche.
Look at Paj, he's not even in the Roshan pit, he's going after Bombi again. Poor old Bombi just trying to make a run for it, but he does not have false promise. He's healing up through the purifying flames, and it looks like that is going to be enough to afford him his life. Skem, however, has caught out Hung now. Hung, he could go for a lasso, but there is no point in doing so, as there is going to be no backup. So he is just going to have to die here. Arrow does connect, and Yopaj will happily take the kill. Back into the mid lane where that T1 mid tower is finally going to drop, or should drop, as the rest of Neon are coming in. They'll get it.
Oh,
Now
man.
a 5k net worth lead here for Neon as Yopaj. He's going to run up towards the tire triangle. Bit far forward, especially considering he does not have any remnants. He's going to get away with his life anyway.
Just scouting out. I'm looking at this build up on Drew Mike, and we saw the weaknesses of that last fight. He has switched to BKB. So going for the BKB is going to help Drew. He's not going to have to worry about the ults and the chrono. That's the only possible play, and just paid off dividends. And oh,
It's a lot of damage out from Skem. He's going to work towards that Abyssal Blade soon, John. I believe he has the Basher on the way. And that's going to be a bit more problematic now for our Void, as that's going to give Skim a way to control him, and dap BB in the mid lane. A lot of damage out with that crit from Skem. He can't survive it. They even found another Bombi getting caught out by the Yule Scepter of Yopaj. Neon. They're starting to feel the momentum, John. Still that 5k net worth lead, and they are well and truly online.
they really are. Like the response from 496 has really fallen flat. Drew's just not comfy anymore to play with his chrono until the BKB's up. And that is still a long ways off, and this is one issue with a Void. You can farm with Mask of Madness, it just doesn't compare to the Empower player that they have invested into Skem. And 496 didn't really punish Skem. Skem is 7-2, 9 assists. He's just been left alone for the most part, been playing on the right side of the map. 496 never finding that big target, and we saw Yopaj kind of cop it for most of the game. He's kind of just fine now, but they've supported these cores quite well. They've only really sacrificed JG, but JG's already got his Blink. He's already got the mech. He's in a very good spot as that Magnus, and they might start to look for Blink RP plays now.
Right now, in fact. On to that BB. No RP necessary. Just to skewer back into the crits of Skem. Oh boy, that is a hard-hitting PA. 1.2k crits on the Tide Hunter of all things. And that's really with just a Deso Basher.
Yeah, it's looking like a lot. They need to get their spacing out here, 496. Bombi has to be on point with the Fate's Edict, which is, again, counteracted by the BKB of Skem. So now it's down to the Void versus PA. It's down to whether or not Drew can farm this BKB, get the chrono on the PA, get the kill off before anything else can happen. If 496 can at least catch Skem out in the chrono, with the BKB up, I think they've got a good shot. Follow up with the Ravage can be really nice. They've got this Blink up as well on Hung, so he too can reach into the back line if he's fast enough. But Neon are just way too far ahead. They're 7k up, which is considerable at 24.5 minutes in. Tier 2 bot is also being pressured, and 496 is just not going to defend. They're going to be stuck with one outer tower if they don't start fighting back here.
They know where Drew is. They get the Yules off. Paj with the chains into the arrow of play hard, and Skem just hits him so hard. This is looking tough now, 496. They don't seem to be able to put up with this kind of harassment, and now the Yule's out onto Hung. Hung, what are you even doing there? You can't play that far forward when you just saw your Void die, and now even Jokam getting caught out by JG, the clumsy net, not going to land, and Jokam will skewer away. But they are on the chase, they know where he's gone. Yapage, you know he's going to have a look for this. Shockwave is going to connect, and JG will take another kill. 11k net worth lead now for Neon Esports. And it's into the mid lane. Skem says screw it. We'll just get this tier 3 tower.
I mean, they've got to be cautious of the Chrono and the Ravage, but 496 have just not been able to do anything. Like, they need to be absolutely perfect with the initiation now, and all they can do is stare at the tier 3 fall.
Easy tier 3 tower. They're not going to risk anything further. They do get the Aegis timing perfect there, so not risking their own lives for the mid-racks. I mean, we are only 26 minutes in all fairness, John, so it's a bit early for the racks to be taken. They are well and truly on their way, and man, Skem is so far ahead.
Oh yeah.
How is he 7k ahead of his own Ember Spirit?
He's just been AFK farming. With the Magnus, JG's been sacrificing his own farm heavily to get this PA up and running, and they just haven't hunted the PA down. They've got the single target burst. They never spot out Skem.
Lasso is... Oh my goodness me.
Oh!
Alright.
What lasso?
Bombi going down as well. Yapage looking for another target. They all just run. I don't want to deal with this PA. You deal with it. Somebody else deal with it. I can't go near that guy.
I didn't see a lasso. I didn't see two heroes up there, Mike. I don't see anything.
It was a short lasso, John. It looks like the Bat Rider ran out of rope or something. Just ended up falling off his bat. Skem. Gonna go after that tier 3 tower. Magnus PA. What a beautiful thing, huh?
Yeah. This is what Dota's made for, Mike. Another tier 3 cleared out. 496, they hold on to one tier 2 up top, so they're not gonna get tier 3 cleared. It's a space for Drew to farm outside. BKB, it's been the same distance every time I look at Drew. It's still about 400 gold off, or no, just about that much. Maybe a little bit more if my mats are off. Once he has that up, again, you're a bit safer, but 15k deficit now. Neon's just ridiculously ahead. We need to see these team fights break out. 496, after that one bad fight where Drew was ulted up, never used any of their ults. And that's costing them. Like, that BB, if he's not using Ravage, then he's just this gigantic shelled creep that's not achieving much anymore, and just not finding openings.
Yapage gonna find Bombi in that mid lane. Just wants to go straight after that Oracle. Bombi, oh, he thought about getting the false promise, but doesn't get it off in time. Yapage finishes the job off. And they ping out the bot lane. They spotted out Drew. They want to go after this Void. Meanwhile, Skem just casually kills off Hung by himself. Apparently, we can't really keep our eyes off Skem, as he's going to be doing that a lot, I'm sure. So he's still going through this bot lane. They're going to check the tree line for Drew. Yapage is pretty close. Drew, time walking, play hard. Arrow is going to get vision. They know he's there. Into the Yules. Drew going to time walk again, but play hard saw him. Drew trying to play hide and seek right now. They're just breaking all the trees. He does not have a TP. He goes straight into Yapage. Yapage now going to run away and play hide and seek with him as JG going to get the RP off. Bit of a game tag.
BKB?
Yeah, why not?
Sir? That's his 10-second charge, though. Confident Yapage, just showing off a bit now.
I mean, what's Dota Plus say, John? 98%. I'd say
It's fair enough.
He's okay to feel confident this game.
Oh, for sure. And that's a rarity, right? Like, you've got the Spaces Void. We talked about the scaling, although...
Look at this, John. That BB. Everything's okay so far. Well, there's a lift that comes out. Skem does not get the crit. So they will be alright. What's going on down here, though? Yapage has found out Hung. Hung is going to try and make a run for it, but really should not be able to outrun the Ember, and cannot. While that's happening, by the way, Skem is taking the bottom racks.
Yep, he's had enough. He couldn't find the crits. He's just going to take these buildings. They don't run away, Mike. He's going to find his kills. So good on Skem, settling for objectives instead. The defense for 496 has to come out. They still have Chrono, they still have Ravage, which we have not seen in at least 5 to 7 minutes now. And they need to use these spells. Otherwise, it's
Skem.
Oh my...
Goodness me. Takes him out. Now comes the time under that PP. Just run. Get out of there. It's not safe. That Bombi, the smart person in the room, does get a Ghost Scepter, but it isn't going to matter anyway. A triple kill out for Schem. It might be about that time to call it, I think, for 496. They aren't bothering to commit the buybacks, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, it's Tier 4's play now. And Upach even picked up a Desolator so they could focus on multiple things. And the GG's called 496. They looked really good early. They run with this Drew Void, but it looks like those issues we talked about with the lineup, Mike, it's still in play here. The coordination's not quite lined up, and it kind of cost them. It all came from that really great Cliff Tombstone from Januel. And the fight was so split up, they couldn't get anything done. And it was just from that one moment. 496 just kind of fell flat. They need to watch the execution. Props to Neon Esports are looking dominant again in game one. I'm looking at JG, 2-0-25, just perfect Magnus play, right? Very, not sacrificial because he didn't die, but he had enabled all that space for his cores to bounce back. Still found his timings on the pause 3 Magnus and just positioned himself perfectly every time as well.
That is a very fair point as well, by the way, John. I did forget that it was that Tombstone play from the Undying in that one team fight that turned the whole game around, because we were talking about the fact that 496 seemed to just have it in the bag at that point, judging by how well Drew was farming. But you don't kill the Tombstone in a team fight, and they just clean you up, and next thing you know, the game's just over. How much damage did Schem deal? 31k. Not too bad. With that, it is MLP Dota and johnxfire, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes for our second game of this best of 2. We'll see you again very soon.